Hi, I'm Chris Tyner, and I'm the group leader for the Royal Society for Protection of Birds in Liverpool. Today we're here at the Palm House and we're going to be looking at what you can do to feed birds in your garden. Because this fabulous place that we've come to today actually is our base for when we do the RSPB's Big Garden Birdwatch. It's a fantastic opportunity to show you and explain to you how to feed birds in your garden while you're pretty much locked down for the time being. And the birds are going to benefit from all the food that you can put out, and also you're going to enjoy being close to nature. We're looking at garden feeders. There's lots of different ways you can feed birds, but you've also got to remember, birds need to feel safe. We're feeding small birds, we're feeding our tip flock, we're feeding our finches, even our starlings. So they like to feel safe. So the best thing for them is that they've got some vegetation around them. So we've got some of the easy, simple food like fat cakes or fat balls that you can put out. Or here, you've got like a no mess mix. So sunflower hearts, sunflower kernels. But then depending on what birds you get, you should really be thinking about providing a specialised mix. Put some dried mealworms in with it. That allows other birds to have some opportunities to feed. Please don't feed things like whole peanuts. They're a bit more difficult, so they need to be more granulated, more broken up. But start small. Lots of people will fill their feeders as full as they can, hoping that the birds will be coming in because they know that they're around or they see them with their next door neighbours. But like us humans, people need to know, and the birds need to know, whether that restaurant's any good. So they're going to take time to see the other birds getting used to it, because remember, they've not seen food there before, and they're going to be constantly moving around different feeding stations that are set up by different people where they feel safe. So they're going to be coming down, having a little look. But if you let the feeders out for a couple of weeks and no birds come along, throw it away. Start fresh. That's the easiest way. So with this feeder, you just take it off, empty the bird food out, and fill it up again. And that works really well for them. Just remember, the worst thing you can ever do is to keep piling it on top. You keep putting the food on top, this bit at the bottom will start to clog. This bit at the bottom will start to go off and go mouldy. It'll need to be washed. You've got to remember to clean your feeders, and the base comes off. And you can see that there is a lot of dirt. There's vents in it that should allow some of the dust and stuff to clear, but it hasn't. So all you would do, hot soapy water, bit of a sponge, cleans it all out, it'll be ready to go again. So you don't expect to find that you're eating off the same dirty plate. So why would you expect nature to do the same? And actually, it creates disease for birds. So it's an important thing. Clean your bird feeders. It makes it good for everybody. Not all birds like to use bird feeders. Blackbirds, song thrushes, they'll struggle a little bit with a bird feeder. So they like to be able to find food that's a bit more simple. Basic food that we can throw out. You don't have to have the best apples in the world, even when they go a bit wrinkly. Cut it in half, put it out, just don't put the skin up. Make sure they can see the fruit. Same goes for grapes. They work really well. Cut them in half so the birds can be able to get in, because the skin can be a little bit harder. But then the birds will be able to feed. But a little bit of cheese, which is just fat, can be thrown out and the birds will come down to feed on it. Remember, bird feeders are really good, but also having some food on the ground will allow the ground feeding birds like our robins, dunnocks and wrens that opportunity to feel a bit more safer. The birds have actually been digging in here, but not just the birds, the grey squirrels, the jay, they'll have been hiding. The jay will be hiding the acorns. The jay might be, the squirrels will be doing the same, having a little dig about storing something. But that then allows the robin to have a look under what's under the leaf cover. Now leaving leaf cover actually allows a little bit of a microclimate, and that's good for all the invertebrates. So you'll get things like flower beetles or their larvae. Some caterpillars will overwinter as well in that warmer area created by the leaves sitting on top of each other. Our birds like to feel safe. They're coming to visit your garden, and that's what you want. They've got to feel safe. And sometimes they like to get into some of the big trees. In around a park, that's quite easy. But near your home, you might not have as many high trees. But what you can do is allow a couple, like this conifer, to start to grow up slightly higher. And it's a way of sort of like allowing the birds to hop between different habitats or different gardens. So they'll gather in there, have a look around, see if they're safe, then come down, working their way along the borders, coming towards your gardens. This time of year, the blue tits, great tits, long-tailed tits, even cold tits will join up together. Sometimes they might even have like a small warbler that's joined with them, like a goldcrest, our smallest bird. And they'll all be more eyes together, watching to see what they can find. They'll work their way around, constantly talking to each other, letting each other know what's about, and allow different birds to go in and grab the food. Blue tits are quite happy to stay and feed for a couple of minutes, or to go and grab a sunflower heart and sit up on a bench, break it apart, get the parts that they want. Great tits will be the same. Cold tits are slightly different. They like to grab a sunflower heart in the autumn and go and hide it in different places and remember where they placed it as a sort of like a stash habitat. Robins love just to be feeding about, letting everybody know, but at the same time trying to be the boss of the bird table. I'm the robin, I can chase you around. Some of our finches are slightly different. Green finches really like rose hips, so they'll be tearing them apart for the seeds. Goldfinches come in groups. Chaffinches will be about, they'll be feeding on the ground looking for beech mast and stuff like that and seeds. But they'll come down to our bird feeders for whatever food we put out. Here in the palm house, we found ourselves a small nest. Look how spectacular it is. It's made out of mosses, lichen, hair, spiders' webs, all sorts of stuff to gather it up. Parent birds can be very site specific. In other words, they'll come back to that nest each year if it's worked really well for them. But they'll have to make sure that they do little trial flights to see whether it's ideal for them. And believe it or not, the size of the hole is enough for them just to fly straight in. They don't need a perch. They just want to make sure that they're safe to fly straight into it, but also that there's enough food for blue tits, great tits. That's going to be caterpillars. They're the sort of food source they're looking for in and around the territory. So one of the wonderful things about the palm house in Sefton Park is that it's one of the special places where we get ring-necked parakeets. Parakeets aren't native to the UK. They probably arrived in the UK in the 1950s, but the numbers have exploded and are travelling all around the UK. And we've got big numbers now in the South Liverpool parks. They really like the grounds around the palm house. Hole nesting bird, so they need our great spotted woodpeckers to create the holes and then they'll open them up. Same time as our nuthatches like that sort of nest site as well. Our main predator in our gardens is the sparrowhawk or the cat. Now, sparrowhawks come as male and female. The female is a third of the size bigger than the male. So she's quite happy hunting wood pigeons, collared doves, blackbird, song thrush. The male, he's quite happy hunting robins, sparrows, tits, all the way up to blackbirds and even collared doves. The reason for the size difference is so they don't compete with each other. But they're a surprise attack hunter. They go flap, 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 glide. Flap, 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 glide. and they lift and come over your fence, drive through the garden, lift the same. We've watched them here many a times when we're doing the Big Garden Birdwatch. Sometimes they'll thermal, a bit like a buzzard will do. They'll just be on the air, just swirling around. Remember, put your bird food and your bird feeders where you think your birds are going to feel safe. Same goes for water. Water is also hugely important. Even here in the palm house, round the grounds, there's some little patches of water that pool on the paths. You can see the birds come down to have a bath and a drink. Hugely important for them. They need to make sure that they clean the feathers up, and then they're able to carry on with their day-to-day duties of finding food, feeling safe. Also, of a night time, here in the palm house, you get to hear the tawny owl, which is another hunter. Now, luckily enough in Sefton Park, we reckon there's probably 3 pairs of birds that are around. And for a lot of the year, they're very territorial. You'll hear them calling. I've been lucky enough to be in the park on numerous occasions to listen and hear and see them. So tawny owls will come into your feeders as well at night time, not to feed on the food, but to keep down any small rodents. Some people can take their bird feeding to a different extent and put out chicks, day-old chicks that are dead, to feed the tawny owl. But that really is taking it to an extreme. Bird food comes in lots of different types now, and our birds have got used to us humans feeding them. They really benefit from the supplementary food we put out. Just be careful. Sometimes what seems like a good buy isn't the best buy. It can have all sorts of seeds mixed into it that aren't really bird seed. Big pieces of corn, peas, striped sunflower, which is more parrot food than it is our normal native wild birds. The fat cakes, the fat balls you can get, can sometimes be really rock hard. Literally as hard as the floor that I'm standing on. Now, is a small bird going to be able to break bits off it? Or is it going to go somewhere else where they've got soft, pliable food cakes? So today we've talked about what sort of food you can feed birds. Such as this is easy to get. It's got black sunflower in, it's got lots of other stuff in it as well. It's sort of like, this isn't the cheap end, but there are cheap ends where you will find corn in it, peas in it. You know, they're not the sort of stuff the birds are going to eat. The more high-end stuff is this sunflower stuff and no mess stuff, so you don't get flowers appearing from weird and wonderful grasses and plants that you've never put in your garden. You can feed mealworms. These are freeze-dried versions. If you want to feed the live ones, keep them cold. Keep them in the garage. Only bring them out when you need to. Spread them on the bird table. The robins will be quite happy with them. Don't put them in the fridge because the wife might fall out with you. Apples are simple. Cut them in half, put them out. Even old nasty grapes that you've had, cut them up, let them go out. Fat cakes, fat balls, fat blocks, they come in different shapes and names. You can have all sorts in with them. Some come with fruit in them, some come with mealworms in them. Very easy to put out. Birds will be made up with them. If it's too big, break it into chunks. The magpie might come down and take a few bits of it, but the other birds will be able to get in there and feed quite well. So even here inside the palm house, we have nesting and breeding birds. There's a real benefit for having the robin in here and also the wren. The robin's nested in here, so's the wren. They look for some of the insects that have come in with some of the plants that are here feeding away as well. So they're a real benefit for the palm house. Maybe another little lockdown project, separate again. Find a log, let it dry out. Drill some holes in it. It's quite simple. Then it can either be turned into a log feeder, or you can put it out in the garden. Nature is a wonderful thing. We're here in the Palm House, surrounded by spectacular plants, spectacular flowers. It's not the same as our garden. But you know what? We can all enjoy watching the birds in our garden, looking at nature. It really is a free, easy thing to do. And all it needs is just your eyes. But if you want to know more, look at the RSPB's website, Royal Society for Protection of Birds. Look at the stuff that you're not sure about some of the birds. Most of the birds we've highlighted will be our typical garden birds, but you can get the very rare special birds that turn up. And even during the RSPB's Big Garden Birdwatch, which is normally the last weekend in January, where we ask you to watch your garden for an hour. If you're one of these people who looks out of the window, says, I don't see anything, give it 5 minutes. Even 20 minutes with a cup of coffee and a slice of cake, biscuit, whatever, it works. It's really enjoyable. It's a free, easy way to enjoy nature. You've got the opportunity. We've explained about the birds and the food, how you can help nature, how nature can actually help you. By enjoying it, by watching it, by relaxing, your well-being becomes better. Birds are a spectacular way of enjoying our nature. They're so colourful, they do so many different things. We have had a great day. The Palm House is spectacular. We'll still be back. We'll all be here. We'll all be enjoying nature and wildlife. The birds are here. They're not going to go away. Enjoy yourselves.